We live in a time where we often ask ourselves questions that seem extremely relevant and sometimes even crucial to us. Will I be able to get that hefty pay package? Will I do well in my exams? Will I be able to fit into those jeans, and so on and so forth? I know this too well because I have asked myself these questions way too many times and have obsessed over them. And being a lawyer, overanalyzing and going into the depth of questions comes very naturally to me. However, every time I see a child on the streets begging for food, I can't help but wonder that the questions that he will be asking himself will be very different from the questions that I ask myself. Will I sleep hungry again tonight? Will there be enough food for my 2-year-old brother or sister? Should I look into the trash can for scraps? In this demanding and competitive world, we face a lot of problems and issues which are significant and sometimes even vital. But most of us have been fortunate enough to not ask ourselves the questions that a hungry, homeless child asks himself every day. We're all aware that hunger and malnutrition is a major problem in India and around the world. The right to food is the most basic of all human rights, and without it, all other rights are meaningless. According to the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, 795 million people around the world are undernourished, out of which 195 million people are from India. In 2013, the World Food Programme stated that hunger kills more people each year than AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. The UNICEF reports that 161 million under 5-year-olds are stunted, and India accounts for 33% of the stunted children in the world. So does that mean that we do not have enough food for everyone? Bear with me while I run you through some more stats. 1/3 of the food produced in the world, this is United Nations statistics, 1/3 of the food produced in the world for human consumption every year, that is 1.3 billion tons of food, gets wasted or is lost. The United Nations Development Programme reported that 40% of the food produced in India is wasted. So clearly, lack of food as a resource doesn't seem to be the problem. It is the lack of the access of the food to the people who need it. By way of background, let me take this opportunity to tell you a little more about myself. I completed my law graduation in India. I pursued my master's in law from London, and thereafter I have been very fortunate to work at a leading intellectual property law firm in Delhi. I have a packed work schedule, and I'm learning from and rubbing shoulders with some of the best minds in the industry. All in all, things are going as per plan. And I'm sure a lot of you have already experienced this and will surely be experiencing this in the future. But in spite of this, I felt this deep dissatisfaction that something is missing. This unsettling feeling stirred within me every single day to and from work when I used to see fellow human beings in need of help. And I chose to turn a blind eye with a deep sense of guilt and regret. In my head, I had rationalized and justified my inactions due to multiple reasons. I have crazy working hours, this problem is way too big, I don't think that a few people can make a difference, I think I'll just donate some money, etc., etc. But that desire to be on the field and to contribute to fellow human beings directly and in a consistent manner remained. I'm quite sure a lot of you would relate to these emotions. Well, luckily for me, two of my dear friends, Neil Ghosh and Anand Sinha, started this initiative in Delhi called the Robin Hood Army in August 2014. The RHA, in short, is a voluntary-driven organization that works towards collecting surplus food from restaurants and then directing it to the people in need. Prior to the initiation of the RHA, Neil had observed the model of a similar organization in Portugal called ReFood, which worked towards food recovery in a good condition to feed the people in need. Basis this model, Neil, Anand, and a few friends decided that instead of waiting and deliberating upon a plan, let's just execute it and make things happen. So they decided to head out to the streets of Delhi one Sunday evening with food for about 100 people. And since then, there has been no turning back for RHA. This small group of individuals shared their experience online, and the response that they got was overwhelming. And this is exactly how I chanced upon RHA as well. I saw Neil's Facebook post, and I knew that I wanted in. I knew that this was the platform that I was looking for. My first drive was sometime in November 2014, and I was pleasantly surprised to see volunteers, or Robins as we fondly call ourselves, who were young and working professionals from different walks of life, all hoping to make some difference. The drive lasted about 2 hours, and we drove from one flyover in Delhi to the next, serving hot food on a cold winter night. But the warmth that I received in return, to see the smile of a little girl eagerly waiting for a food packet, was unparalleled. That is when I knew that RHA is going to be an integral part of my life. The Robin Hood Army, which just started out as a small group of friends in Delhi meeting on a Sunday evening to serve food to a few hundred people, has expanded tremendously. Currently, RHA is operational in 19 cities across India and Pakistan, armed with 2,315 Robins across the border, who have served food to 3.5 lakh people so far. How have we achieved this? Let me explain. Social media. Social media has played a very vital role in making RHA what it is. We set up a Facebook page, a Twitter handle, an Instagram account, and later a website. And our popularity simply exploded in a way we did not expect. The amount of love and warmth and encouragement that we received pushed us to do even more. At our last count, we had amassed around 20,000 followers on Facebook itself. Social media platforms have enabled us in setting up of new city chapters, restaurant tie-ups, regular signing up of people wanting to join in as Robins. Point number 2, decentralization. Decentralization is a key factor in RHA's success. Each city has its own culture, its own setup, so how we function is that the new RHA chapters work as mini startups with the best practices and broad guidelines from already established chapters. We don't have specific do's and don'ts. We only have 2 rules. A, we do not accept monetary donations at all. We only accept donations in the form of food and the things that can be distributed to people. And B, we do not compromise on the quality of the food that we distribute. Point number 3, our volunteers. Our Robins are the backbone of the Robin Hood Army. We consider ourselves to be a part of a really massive and a constantly growing family who belong to different backgrounds and professional setups, many of them being doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, photographers, journalists, businessmen, administrators, you name it. The 2 vital things that a Robin offers to the Robin Hood Army are A, their unique skill set and professional acumen to further the cause of the organization, and B, and most importantly, their time. All coordination and planning pertaining to the administration and operation of a particular city chapter happens on WhatsApp groups. The Robin Hood Army has grown exponentially over the last 1 year, 1.5 years, without raising any money, renting any office space, or hiring full-time employees. Point number 4 is scouting. So in order to identify and ascertain the areas that require food, our Robins regularly conduct scouting sessions of their cities, of their particular cities, to determine and target the homeless sectors on the streets, areas outside government hospitals, government-run shelters, homes for abandoned children, orphanages, old age homes, and so on. So we prefer to conduct this search and this research directly and being on the field instead of relying on online resources and hearsay. It's more effective that way. We have over 50 generous restaurant partners who have continuously and diligently provided us with surplus food and sometimes even freshly prepared meals to serve to the poor. We are very, very, very thankful to them. RHA would not have been possible without the generosity of our restaurant partners. The sixth point is mainstream media, both visual and print, have been very kind to report and cover RHA's activities since its inception. In fact, every time that we conduct a specialized drive or a campaign, they graciously help us with the media coverage. So that way we've been very lucky. And lastly, and most importantly, I would like to believe that the one quality which sets RHA apart is the fact that our Robins during the drive engage with and lend an ear to the people we serve. This simple exercise has sometimes led to remarkable conclusions. I'll give you an example. I take immense pride in knowing that 3 orphan girls at a government-run shelter aspire to become lawyers after continuous discussions with my colleagues whenever they go for drives. And this to me is a massive, massive win, and this for the organization is a massive win. Although the RHA family primarily stands for surplus food being given to the needy, we have never shied away from conducting special drives and campaigns. Some of our special drives have included distributing warm clothes and donating blankets during the winters, distributing cold beverages in the sweltering heat, celebrating festivals with the orphan girls at a government-run shelter, being Santa on Christmas, playing cricket with orphan boys at a government-run shelter on Valentine's Day, distributing stationery for children, and so on. We conduct specialized campaigns on a regular basis to raise public awareness and to reach out to more number of people. And one of our most noteworthy campaigns was a campaign that we conducted called the Mission 100K campaign in 2015. And this was conducted on the eve of India and Pakistan's Independence Day. And Robins across the border in India and Pakistan served food to 100,000 less fortunate people on that day. Basically, the idea is to spread as much love and as much warmth as we can. So we're aware of the fact that these are only baby steps towards a mammoth problem that hunger is. And in spite of knowing that we've barely just managed to scratch the surface, the common thread that ties us all together and drives us to push harder is optimism. We are optimistic that if we stand together and we work towards this one common goal, we can eventually eradicate hunger. By way of example, India's youth population is the largest in the world, amounting to 356 million people between the age group of 10 and 24. Can you imagine the impact that 356 million young people can have if they harness their potential and work towards a common goal? Imagine a situation where every city and every community within their city takes responsibility for the homeless and for the people, the less fortunate in their community, around their schools, around their homes, around their offices. Imagine that every Indian citizen or every citizen of the world sleeps with a full stomach and a smile on their face. Imagine a situation of not worrying about a child who might die of hunger. Imagine a situation that no child is being sold off by a parent because they couldn't feed him. And imagine that all of this can be done only by serving food of perfectly good quality, which otherwise would be wasted. The Robin Hood Army enables us to envisage this and work towards achieving this. And keeping this in mind, our next steps include working towards a daily model, taking RHA to the student community in schools and colleges, setting up RHA in smaller towns, and also taking RHA international into more countries. There are ample opportunities in the world to make significant improvements to the community, particularly one where the disparities are extreme. We, the people of the world, can act more and talk less and have faith and hope in the bigger picture that we can eventually break this vicious cycle. The late anthropologist Margaret Mead has very rightly said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." A question that I'm often asked is, how do you balance your work and your profession with the commitment towards the Robin Hood Army? And after a lot of thought and deliberation and soul searching, I have realized that the latter is not a job for me. I don't feel obligated to do this. The most satisfying meal that I have in the week is not the one that I had with my friends at a five-star hotel, or the one that I had at the Delhi High Court or a work conference. Instead, it's the simple home-cooked meal that I have after serving food to people who had otherwise resigned to sleeping on a hungry stomach another night. A commitment of a few hours has given me wonderful friends on and off the streets and has given me contentment and happiness of a lifetime. I feel more humble than ever before, and I believe that the power of compassion and giving has tremendous strength. And a simple act of kindness is actually a selfish act because it gives you more happiness. It has filled me with purpose to do more for this cause and optimism that a handful of people can make a difference. And these handful of people can soon become a huge number. Don't get me wrong, I'm no saint. I still want that hefty pay package, and I still want to fit into those jeans. But I also know that a child will not have to ask himself this question, that will I sleep hungry again tonight, or do I have to look into the trash can for scraps? So the next time you happen to see some youngsters in green t-shirts roaming the streets in the dead of the night, don't panic. They are our robins serving the hungry citizen. I leave you with one of my favorite images of the wonderful moments that I've spent as a robin in the Robin Hood Army. And after all, who doesn't like warm hugs? So guys, let's eat, feed, and love.